Welcome to our video about 5 scary stories based on real paranormal events. Story 1. The Ghosts of Cumberland Dam, Georgetown, Queensland. Tucked deep in the Savannah Gulf country of far north, Queensland, Georgetown is a quiet speck on the map, a place most people only pass through on the long haul between Cairns and the Northern Territory. But west of town, past the scrub and dry riverbeds, sits a place the locals don't talk about much: the ruins of the old Cumberland goldfield. It was once a booming mining settlement in the 1870s, home to hundreds of hopeful diggers chasing their fortune. Now all that remains is a crumbling stone chimney, rusting machinery, and a dam that has outlived the town itself. And according to locals, something else stayed behind too. Back in 2003, a pair of keen amateur photographers, I'll call them Mick and Tracy, drove out from Georgetown to take some sunset shots. The old dam was calm that evening, the water glowing red from the dying light. They set up their tripod near the chimney when Mick noticed something moving along the opposite bank. At first he thought it was a fisherman, but as the figure stepped into clearer view, it looked wrong. Too pale, too stiff. The man, if it was a man, wore old-fashioned trousers held up by braces, and his face was obscured by the brim of a floppy miner's hat. He didn't seem to walk so much as glide along the edge of the dam. Tracy whispered, "Mick, he's not making any ripples." They both froze as the figure reached the far corner of the dam and turned to face them. Even from across the water, they felt the weight of his stare. Then, without a sound, the figure simply wasn't there anymore. And stories like Mick and Tracy's aren't rare here. They just don't get told to tourists. Older residents claim the dam is cursed, that the water hides more than just fish. Back in the gold rush days, the mine shafts beneath Cumberland were unstable. One summer, heavy rains caused a partial collapse. Several miners, mostly young men from overseas, were working the lower levels when a surge of water flooded the tunnels. The dam, newly built to supply the operation, filled the void, sealing the men inside forever. The bodies were never recovered. The mine closed soon after. Campers who stay near the dam report hearing the sounds of pickaxes tapping on rock late at night, or low voices murmuring just out of earshot. One Georgetown local told me she went fishing there in 2011 with her teenage son. As the sun dipped, she heard someone behind her say, "Don't stay after dark." She spun around, but no one was there. They packed up and left immediately. And then there's the water. Even in the height of the dry season, the dam never fully dries out. Some say it's because it's fed by an underground spring. Others believe it's because the miners' spirits still stir below, keeping the water restless. The creepiest account I heard came from a road train driver who pulled over to sleep by the ruins. He said he woke just after 2 a.m. to see lights moving across the dam, faint yellow glows like old carbide lamps. One by one, the lights sank beneath the surface until the water was black again. He left before sunrise. Today, Cumberland is just a picnic stop for travelers on the Savannah Way. The chimney makes for a nice photo. The dam is popular with bird watchers, but if you go there late in the day, you might notice how quiet it gets. No wind, no birds, just the sound of water lapping at the shore. And if you stay too long, you might catch sight of a pale figure in a miner's hat on the far bank, staring, waiting for you to step closer to the water. Story 2. Queensland's UFO secrets, cattle, lights, and the unknown. Out in the remote cattle country of Queensland, the nights are so quiet you can hear the wind roll through the grass like a wave. But for one couple, Mick and Judy Cook, that silence was broken by something far stranger. It started in 2018. Mick walked his paddock at first light and saw one of his cows lying dead. Now that happens sometimes in the bush, but this one was different. The udder was gone, cut out with surgical precision. No blood, no tracks, no sign of struggle. Days later, he found another cow, its ears missing, tongue removed, organs taken. Again, no blood. No predator could have done it. No human could have done it without leaving a trace. Over the next few years, more mutilated cattle turned up. Around 20 in total, all butchered with impossible accuracy. And then came the lights. Late at night, strange orbs drifted over the paddocks, bright, silent, hovering. Mick and Judy would watch them through the kitchen window until they blinked out like a torch switched off. And they weren't alone. Queensland's UFO history stretches back decades. In 1954, a sheep station owner near Hughenden saw 6 glowing objects descend from the sky. They landed in his fields, filling the air with strange fumes. His animals grew sick, he blacked out, and the soil became unnaturally fertile. In the 1960s, farmers near Tully woke to find perfect circles pressed into their swamp reeds. Locals called them saucer nests. The government, they blamed ducks. But the circles were radioactive. And then came the cattle cases, not just in Queensland, across the world. Always the same, missing tongues, missing udders, no blood, no tracks, as if something lifted them, studied them, and dropped them back to Earth. Mick Cook swears he knows what he saw, and he isn't alone. UFO Research Queensland has recorded more than 5,000 sightings from across the state. Lights, discs, encounters that can't be explained. So, what's happening in the Queensland outback? Some say it's secret military tests. Others whisper about cults. But for those who've walked their paddocks in the pale dawn and seen a carcass carved open without a drop of blood spilled, the answer feels closer to the stars. And if you're ever out there, under that endless sky, and you see a silent light floating above the trees, don't look too long. Because in Queensland's outback, the night is watching you, just as much as you're watching it. Story 3. The Julia Creek Watcher. Julia Creek might look like just another quiet Queensland outback town. Red dirt roads, the odd road train rolling through, and a silence that hangs heavy at night. But locals whisper about a figure that has been seen on the outskirts for decades, and those who've seen it up close never talk the same again. It started with the drovers. Long before the highways and roadhouses, men moving cattle across the harsh country swore they were followed by something out there in the scrub. At first they thought it was dingoes shadowing their herd. But the prints left in the sand weren't from dogs, horses, or cattle. Too large, too heavy, too human. Julia Creek became known for its isolation. Miles of flat nothing, with only the wind carrying dust across the horizon. That's what makes it worse. If you're out there and you hear footsteps, you know it's not an echo. You know you're not alone. In the 1970s, a young station hand never came back from checking fences. His motorbike was found leaned against a gate, still upright, fuel tank full, keys in the ignition. No sign of a struggle, no blood, no tracks leading away. Just gone. His boss swore that for weeks after he could hear tapping on his windows late at night, even though he lived miles from town. Truck drivers tell their own versions. Heading west past Julia Creek after midnight, they see someone standing on the side of the road. A tall, thin figure waving them down. But when they slow, the figure vanishes into the scrub, without a sound. One driver swore he clipped the figure with his bull bar. Shaken, he pulled over and searched with a torch. Nothing. Not a drop of blood, no dent, no footprints. Just silence pressing in around him. Locals started calling it the Watcher of Julia Creek. They say it lingers near the edges of the highway, by the floodplains, and out in the open grasslands where there's nowhere to hide. Except it hides anyway, waiting, watching. One family back in the late 90s was camped by the creek after a fishing trip. They woke to the sound of heavy breathing right outside their tent. The father unzipped the flap and shone his torch into the dark. The beam caught a face. Not animal, not human. Stretched, pale, eyes too wide. It blinked once and then it was gone. By sunrise, the ground around their tent was marked with giant barefoot prints that led straight back into the plains, and then just stopped. The scariest part, the stories haven't stopped. Even today, backpackers cutting across Queensland say Julia Creek feels wrong at night. Some report seeing shapes at the edge of their campfires. Others wake up to find their shoes moved, their packs unzipped, or faint handprints pressed into the dust around their swags. Whether it's an old spirit, something from the dreaming twisted by time, or just the land itself keeping watch, one thing is certain. Julia Creek isn't as empty as it looks. So if you're driving through and you see someone standing alone on the side of the highway after dark, keep driving. Don't stop, because some people say once the Watcher sees your face, it'll never leave you alone. Story 4. The Fields of Ayr. Ayr, a quiet sugarcane town south of Townsville, seems peaceful at first glance. Flat fields stretching to the horizon, the sweet smell of cane drifting on the breeze. But the land here has soaked up more than water. It has soaked up blood, tragedy, and whispers that the locals don't speak of after dark. The cane industry built Ayr, but it also buried countless lives. In the early 1900s, South Sea Islanders, brought here as indentured laborers, were worked to death in the sweltering fields. Many never made it home, their graves unmarked, their names forgotten. Old farmers say you can still hear them in the rustle of cane at night. Voices murmuring in languages long lost, calling for freedom or revenge. Workers today sometimes refuse to cut late in the season. They say the cane comes alive after dusk. Machetes feel heavier. Shadows move between the rows. And sometimes, when the wind is dead still, you can hear footsteps behind you, crunching in the dry soil, keeping pace, though no one is there. Truck drivers tell another story. On lonely back roads, a figure sometimes appears in their headlights, a man with shackles on his wrists, stumbling across the bitumen. When they slam the brakes, the figure vanishes, leaving only a smell of smoke and the faint echo of chains clattering against steel. The Burdekin Bridge, stretching across the river on the edge of town, carries its own curse. Since it was built in the 1950s, dozens of lives have ended there. Some accidental, some intentional, but locals swear not all of them left. Late-night fishermen say they've seen pale faces in the water, drifting just beneath the surface, watching. A few claim to have heard voices rising from the river, whispering their names. One man who camped beneath the bridge said he woke to find wet footprints circling his swag, though he was alone all night. Even Ayers Town itself hides unease. The old pubs are said to be restless, their walls absorbing decades of brawls, violence, and broken lives. One cleaner at a long-shuttered hotel refused to return after hearing glasses clinking in the empty bar, followed by the unmistakable sound of someone laughing, though the place had been abandoned for years. And then there are the fields, always the fields. Families talk about nights when the cane burns out of control, even when no matches have been struck. Locals swear it's the spirits burning in fury. During one fire in the 1980s, a farmer claimed he saw shapes moving inside the flames, human forms, screaming without sound, walking straight through the inferno. His children still remember how he never set foot in his cane rows again. Ayr is a town built on hard work, sweat, and sacrifice, but it is also built on bones. Those who came here unwillingly, those who never escaped, and those who found their end on the bridge or in the burning fields. Their stories linger. So if you find yourself driving through Ayr at night, windows down, cane swaying on either side, listen carefully. If you hear footsteps where there should be none, or whispers calling your name, don't answer. Because once the fields take notice of you, they never let you go. Story 5. The Fog over Kuranda, FNQ, Queensland. Kuranda, perched high in the rainforest above Cairns, is known today for its markets, art, and the famous scenic railway. But ask the locals who've lived there for generations, and they'll tell you Kuranda has a darker history hidden beneath the canopy. The Jabugai people, the traditional owners of the land, long warned of spirits moving through the rainforest. Some places were never meant to be disturbed. But when European settlers carved the rail line through the mountains in the late 1800s, they ignored those warnings. Hundreds of workers lost their lives building the railway, from landslides, disease, and accidents. The jungle seemed to swallow men whole. Their bodies were often never recovered, claimed by the river or buried in sudden rockfalls. Locals say those restless souls still linger on the line. Train drivers whisper about the man with no face, a figure glimpsed near tunnels late at night. He appears standing on the tracks, arms raised, before vanishing as the train barrels through. Maintenance crews have heard voices echoing inside tunnels when no one else is around. Some refuse to work alone, swearing they've heard footsteps following them in the dark. But it's not only the railway. The rainforest itself has stories. In the 1950s, a young tourist vanished while hiking to Barron Falls. Search parties combed the tracks and rivers for weeks. All they found was her camera, wedged between rocks, the last photo showing mist rolling through the trees, and what looked like a pale hand reaching from the fog. Locals also talk about the woman on the range. Drivers winding along the Gillies Highway at night sometimes see her standing by the roadside, hair wet, clothes torn, staring into the headlights. Those who've tried to stop say she disappears the moment they open the door. Others report swerving to miss her, only to find the road empty. Police have recorded multiple crashes in the same bends over the decades, all with drivers insisting someone was standing in the fog. Even Kuranda village, bustling by day, isn't free of unease. Shopkeepers lock up quickly when the mist rolls in. One longtime resident swears that when the power goes out, he hears someone knocking on the windows of the closed stalls, even when the streets are empty. Another claims the old hotel is haunted by a woman who roams the halls at night, searching for her missing child from over a century ago. Tourists visit Kuranda chasing the markets, the waterfalls, the sky rail ride above the rainforest. But when the fog creeps down the mountains, the locals lower their voices. They remember the missing, the lost, and the restless. Because up here, in the thick green silence of the rainforest, the past is never really gone. Kuranda is beautiful, but beauty hides danger. If you find yourself alone on the track and the fog begins to move between the trees, don't stop to listen. Don't look for the shapes in the mist, because once you see them, they see you too. Thank you for watching.